It is Thursday evening. It's the night, or 2 nights, I should say, before the next Auburn football game, Game 4 in the 2024 season. Auburn versus Arkansas, a first SEC matchup. Tonight, we are going to do our preview and prediction show, which will result by the end of it in us, myself, and you all offering score predictions. Let's get into it. We got a lot to talk about right now. War Eagle Auburn family, and welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live. We appreciate you joining us, hanging out with us, spending some time being a part of our little family within the Auburn family. As is typically the case, we get together on Thursday evenings to hang out together, not just because we love to be together, but because it's time to preview and predict what's going to happen in the next upcoming game. So we appreciate you joining us here at E2C Network. The Auburn Experience. What is the Auburn Experience? Well, we define it as Auburn sports, Auburn culture, Auburn family stuff. The way we also love to talk about it is if it's orange and blue, it is what we do and what we'll get into tonight in the stream. And you know what we're getting into tonight on this stream. We'd love for you to start the show off by smashing that like button. It's a huge help for us. Lets people know that we're live. Lets people know that this is great content to come and check out later. If you are a follower of ours already, that is the most important thing that you can do for us, is to make sure that you are here smashing that like button. If you haven't subscribed yet or followed wherever you're watching or whatever format you're on, and that's the thing you need to do, make sure you take care of that for us. That's a huge help for us as well. If it's your first time here as well, welcome. We hope you enjoy the show. If you're an Arkansas fan tuning in, hope you enjoy. We won't make fun of you too much, you little wee pig sueys. I always love saying that because it gets them going. At least a little bit, it does. Anyway, we got a lot of people checking in with us today. Thank you so much for being here early for the show tonight. A lot of familiar faces and maybe some new faces as well, it looks like. So here is how the show is going to go this evening. Most of you know the drill, but let me give the rundown to those people that might be new or watching the replay and maybe trying to figure out if they want to join us for a live. We will go through an Auburn preview first of this, Auburn versus Arkansas preview. I'm going to pull up some information for you, let you look at it, think about it a little bit. I'll talk through it a little bit with you. We'll take some comments if they're relevant along the way. And then on the back half, it's not even half, it's probably the back 2/3 of the show, we're going to get into the predictions portion of our show, where we are going to be interactively talking, taking feedback from you about different things that we believe may or may not happen. You, the viewers, myself as well, will participate and get an idea of what everybody's feeling on this game is in different areas, which will lead us to a score prediction time. So hold your score predictions until the end of the show for those of you watching live. Those of you on the replay, I can't stop you. I can't stop anybody, really. But we do ask that you hold those for those of you watching live till the end of this thing so we can, if you have to leave early, that's fine. But that's how we usually like to run through these things. Lots of fine people checking in with us early and often. So thank you so much from all across the land here, from Facebook and YouTube, and hanging out with us. Jefferson County, St. Croix. Look at that. From We Dig It. So many people that we know, some people that we get to hang out a lot with. We appreciate you all being here. Thanks. All right, let's get into it. Let's talk about what we want to discuss in terms of Auburn preview stuff. Again, you guys can drop comments as you'd like. I'll bring them up if they're relevant to what we're talking about at the time. But I just want to give you some information to look at, think about, and process a little bit as you're thinking about maybe what your prediction might end up being by the end of this thing for how you believe this is all going to shake out. So we're going to bring this up here, not that one. Yeah, you almost always get this down. I feel like at some point I'll get the motions down on this. What I have brought up on screen for you right now, and by the way, let me give you all a little bit of a heads up. I am under the weather today, so if I sound a little different or if I seem a little tired, there is a reason for that. I have been battling today a little bit of I don't know if it's just like a 24-hour cold or something like that, but it's pretty rough. It's pretty rough and it's not fun. But I'm doing my best to hang in here with you guys tonight because I enjoy doing these shows with you guys. Okay. All right. Let's look at some of the preview stuff. You can see all of this on the screen next to you. You should have pretty good view of everything since we're shooting in 1080p right now. Reasons for that. Things are about to go up, but hope. we appreciate those of you that are in the Conquer Club and all that, help us pay the bills for that are about to go up, all these things. Anyway, all right, y'all don't care about that. Here is the Auburn preview sheet. Now, you can look through all of this. You could even freeze frame this if you're on the replay and just or pause the thing and look at it a little bit more if you want to. You can find this is accessible on Auburn's website, but I do want you all to have this information. I've highlighted some things that are probably the most important, or I feel like the most important about the game. Some of this is not even relevant to the outcome of the game, but it's just interesting notes. So let's just talk through a little bit of it. It'll be a little bit about the game, the depth chart, facts about the matchup, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, we know we're playing this Saturday at 2:30. 2:30, folks. This was obviously made or not corrected in that time frame on ESPN at Jordan Hare. The series record between Auburn and Arkansas is 20-12-1. Isn't it weird to think about what we consider now a staple of the SEC in Arkansas having that limited of a series record, because they haven't been part of it that long. But 20-12-1, Auburn does hold the lead. Auburn holds the lead in Auburn, as you would expect them to do, 9-6-1. And the last result was a pretty dang good one in Fayetteville, 48-10. Put a little thumping on the wee little pig sueys. You can see next to that rankings. Neither team is ranked. Same record. Hugh Freeze is back at 500 as an Auburn coach. Sam Pittman is trying to get to 500 with this win, so it'd be funny if they flip-flopped. One gets back up to 500, one drops down. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully we're pushing him further into the background of his 5th year not having a lot of success there. It's not a good look to be below 500 in your 5th year at Arkansas. No offense to Sam Pittman, but I think there are a few piggies out there that I would like to see him move on. And so I've even had some people say to me, kind of hope that you win this one so we can get our guy out, get a new guy in here. But we'll see. Obviously, this is the stripe out, not the asking to stripe the stadium. It is the power stripe. So you need to go look at that particular segment that we talked about in our episode of the Auburn Experience podcast. You need to go look at all the other promotions out there. I mean, you can find the information to see where you're sitting, what you need to wear. Will it go well? I don't know. I hope it does. That's what I'll say about that. Also, honoring the women's basketball, excuse me, as I told y'all, battling something tonight. Women's basketball team, Elijah McAllister, who played with us last year for the Cliff Air Award, and then Abby Stockard, the reigning Miss Alabama, who is an Auburn student. So there you go. In SEC openers each season, Auburn is 52-33-5 all time, 25-6 over the last 31 SEC home openers. Tigers are 58-27-2 all time in SEC home openers and defeated Arkansas 45-21 in the 2014 season and last SEC opener between these two things. A couple other notes that you see I've got highlighted down there. Auburn see, I think these are probably more important for you, some of these at least, for this game in terms of how you think about your predictions. So pay attention to a few of these. Auburn leads the country with 9 players who have already caught a touchdown pass this season, and that's with 2 different quarterbacks. So obviously Auburn's intentions are to move the ball a lot around the passing game. So that's a great stat that we have not seen in quite some time. That I think if you're someone, not that anyone who's being reasonable is having these conversations about Hugh Freeze, being on hot seats or things like that, these are signs of we are heading in the right direction, because we don't talk about these types of things, normally. Keandre Lambert-Smith ranks 8th nationally, 3rd in the SEC in yards per reception. Not a shock there. Auburn leads the SEC and ranks 5th nationally in yards per completion. So a lot of good passing stats. Auburn's 132 points scored to date are the 9th most points scored in the first 3 games of a season and the most since 2021, which is a Harsin year. Go figure. The Tigers rank 4th nationally in punting. This shouldn't be a shock either. We've got the wonder from down under, and one of 10 FBS teams whose opponents have negative, say it again, negative punt return yards. Auburn is 9th nationally in kickoff returns as well. So what do you see? Why do I highlight all those things? You see, obviously, even with a not great second game, Auburn is still doing well in its passing game. And obviously special teams has shown up a lot. know a lot of people are concerned after last game with the defense, but obviously it's just one game. Let's wait till we get a fuller body of work. All right, we won't spend a lot of time on these next couple ones. Well, maybe not, but I do want to bring them up because I think they are important to our conversation here. You'll see the depth chart here. Most of you should be very familiar with this already. I am going to bring up, and I may do that in a second, the injury list that was released yesterday, I believe. Things could have changed between now and then, so keep that in mind. But here's your depth chart. Obviously, Hank Brown was moved into the #1 quarterback spot last week, so it's not really news, but just so that's clear out there. And you can kind of see with Cam being out, Camden's been moved up to a or position in that wide receiver slot with him. Very happy to see Camden Brown getting some opportunities and him rising to that occasion as well. So there's your depth chart. Let's keep moving right along, and we'll move to this little sheet right here where we'll talk about you can see some stats from the last meeting if you're interested in those. There's some more series history of where we played, when we play, what the record is everywhere, most points scored, all those different things. So if those are interesting to you, this is a nice little sheet for you to freeze frame on, come back to if you're watching live, and all those different things. Superlatives, you can see obviously who has done what, the strongest in each of these different categories versus Arkansas, and then comparing Arkansas and Auburn. The Arkansas has this on their stuff, which I'll bring up in a second, but let's use ours because we're Auburn people, right? And talk about that a little bit here. I know we need to get moving here. Points per game for Auburn, 44. Now remember, folks, that the goal set by Derek Nix, OC Derek Nix, was 40 points per game for his offense. Even with that lackluster second game, they are still at that mark, much early than we would like, but there you go. Arkansas is scoring 46 points per game. They are allowing 22, and we are allowing 14. So however you want to slice that, it looks like based on those two stats alone, things are going to be very, very comparable. You can look, we won't go through all of these different things, but you can kind of look through some of these and make inferences about what may or may not happen. I just wanted you guys to have a shot at the stats that are out there. Jackson, obviously, being one of their leading rushers, and their leading rushers. Green, also their quarterback, a leading rusher for them as well. And you can see how our guys stack up in terms of passing, rushing, receiving, defense. Some names to remember: Sorey, Metcalf, Johnson for them on defense. All things that you need to know about this team. Let me bring up the injury report. I need to switch over to this really quickly. And you can see where Auburn has listed on the SEC reporting thing that apparently is like new or something like that. Everybody's raving about. But these are, as of yesterday when it was released, your statuses for current injured players. We know about Frazier and Scott being out for effectively for the year. Frazier might be back. The two most surprising ones were Morris Williams and Antonio Kite, especially after his great interception being on this list. Doubtful for Morris, Cam, Antonio, Alex, Xavier are questionable, and Kaden Lee and Champ are likely to be back, which is going to be huge for that defensive back group. So that is your injury report for that. Let me bring up the Arkansas list here. I don't have anything highlighted for you. I thought we might they have a lot of information on there. So this is one of those things where maybe, especially if you're watching live, you come back and you peruse through this a little bit more. I've taken the liberty of getting rid of a lot of the fluff out of there, but I wanted to have this opportunity for you guys to see some of the things about how they're doing and who to look for. If you look on this page, they're headlining their passing attack under Taylon Green, 806 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So not a great ratio for him passing wise. And I think that's not a shock to most of you guys, but their rushing attack is where you need to pay attention, because it's not only him, but Jaquindon Jackson, 47 attempts, 397 yards for 6 touchdowns. I think you need to think about this offense as being contained, not stopped, and don't let certain other areas beat you. Receiving wise, 18 receptions, 301, 0 touchdowns for Andrew Armstrong, which is apparently one of their leaders there. We talked about Sori as well, some of their tackles. So you can see kind of some more stats and things. If there's anything of note on there that you guys found interesting, obviously feel free to point it out, and we'll look at those in just a little bit. Just kind of going through the rest of these sheets. We won't linger too long on some more statistical breakdowns for everybody if they want to stop, freeze frame, and take a look at those a little bit longer. Thing that is interesting to you. I do want to call out a couple of names here. Got this obviously from Hugh Freeze talking about Fernando Carmona, the left tackle, who a lot of people wanted, including us, who Arkansas convinced to come over from San Jose. Yes, San Jose Spartans. So that's something to keep in mind, as maybe an area where you're not going to have a lot of success rushing, because he's a name to keep in mind. We've talked about Taylor Green. We've talked about Jackson, the running back. I think those are probably the three most important names to know on the offense. On the defensive side of the ball, I'll bring that up for you guys. You can kind of see a little bit. I know that print is small for a lot of you, but you at least can familiarize yourself with some of these people. Right here, Xavier Sori, linebacker, 6'3", 225. And you can look at some of his stats there. He's their best tackler, it seems, right now for you all. So there is that information. We got one more thing to do, and I'm going to bring it up on screen right now. Switch it over so you guys can have a little better look at everything, just for the final bits of information for us to look at. And again, this is ESPN, so any ads and stuff on here, it's what they have up there. All right, your line for this game, I think it was listed a little bit higher earlier. The spread is now 2.5 in Auburn's favor, even at home. Everybody expects this to be a close matchup. Talk about if you agree with that in a little bit. The predictor also in Auburn's favor by a little bit more of a margin than maybe that spread is, but that's at least what the fans are thinking about in regards to that. And then you can look and see, obviously, again, the leaders for everybody. You know, obviously, I know that Peyton Thorne's not the starter anymore, but you can see how he's stacked up versus somebody else. Arkansas's last couple of games, obviously, our last couple of games, they struggled a little bit against UAB at their place, 37-21. They lost in double overtime to Oklahoma State, beat heavily Arkansas Pine Bluff, as they should, 70. So you're very similar to our Alabama A&M game. And an in-state school that you should do that type of thing too. And the standings. If you look there at the standings, you're going to notice that this is a battle pretty much to remove yourself from the bottom of the SEC at this point in the season. So that's why it's very important for both teams. Okay, let's move back out of all of these different things. And let me move us back into our portion of the show where we're going to get a little bit more interactive. I was about to start saying, let's get physical. And I realized that's probably not the best thing to be saying. But it is a football game, so you do get physical, right? Anyway, all right. Anything that you guys stuck out in there that you wanted to mention before we move on to doing predictions and anything like that? Bobby Petrino is the difference in this year's matchup. Might be a good point. Is he still relevant in this space? That's a good probably question to ask. Is he losing his touch? Do we want to set up a scenario where Bobby Petrino returns back as head coach of Arkansas if Sam Pittman doesn't survive? How bad is that if you do end up getting fired at some point and they hire Petrino, that you basically hired your replacement? That'd be pretty embarrassing in my opinion. But anyway, so there's some of the things that we had out there for you. Texas A&M beat Auburn last year, and Bobby was the OC, as a good reminder for everybody where we saw him last. Okay, let's do this thing. We are now at about 20 minutes. This is where I like to kind of move into the predictions portion of this show. Remember, this is mainly for the interactive live portion of the show. If you're watching this replay, you can obviously respond in kind, but you won't get the same effect to these different things that we're going to go to. Please, 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 for those of you who are watching live, hold your predictions for anything else other than what we ask, such as score predictions, unless you got to go, which we understand. Let's do a practice one as we all get ready to start responding here. The spread is set at, this is not your score prediction, but just think about it this way. This is like a test. The spread is set at 2.5 in Auburn's favor. Will you take the over or the under? I just need one word, over or under, in the chat right now. Go ahead and post that for us as you start getting your typing fingers ready, getting used to the mechanics of responding to us live here on the show. And always remember, too, when you're watching live, I know that there are ads as well. You may need to refresh your stream to catch back up with us. All right. So far, the majority are overs. Got an under. Ooh. And an over. Neil says with a question mark. I don't know what you got the question mark about, but most people feel that they should be taking the over in this scenario. I would agree as well that I think if somebody wins, I guess I did say that a little bit confusing, but will you take the over or the under? How about that? Either way, will you take the over or the under? This was just a practice round anyway. And remember, I've got sick brain tonight, so I may not be thinking straight. Just hanging in here by a thread, to be honest with you. All right, that was a good start off for things. But here's what we're going to do. We'll go through offense, we'll go through defense, we'll go through special teams, and then we'll get our final score predictions here. Let's start with the offense as we always do. Your first question tonight: how many passing yards and passing touchdowns, will Auburn have versus Arkansas? Type that and only that in your comment. It's much easier for us to read when they come in rapid fire. I know sometimes y'all want to explain. I understand that, but try to do it just in one nice flow there. How many passing yards and how many passing touchdowns will Auburn have versus Arkansas? We want to be able to see some of these things so that we can talk about them. Obviously, Hank Brown is your starter. Obviously had a great start. I think it's important to keep in mind that he did this against a very bad defense, but it doesn't mean that he won't replicate what he will do against a SEC talent defense, whether it is the best in the SEC or not. The talent level will be far, far superior. All right, we got a couple of predictions rolling in here in the 200s, 3, 4. Neil, not super excited about it. 2, 350, 4 touchdowns. A couple more 300s in here. It's a little bit of optimism in the room. Like it. Love it. Want some more of it. Oh, total yards. Nope. That's why I'm trying to make sure I say it a couple times so it's not missed. This is passing and yards and passing touchdowns. We're breaking it down just a little bit further there. So a couple of more predictions came in there for everybody. I'm being realistic. This is Hank's first big game, and I think that's fair. I think you're borderline pessimism based on, especially I know you a little bit better from our interactions here and kind of what some things that you've said earlier. But I do appreciate the caution that you are asking for Hank Brown. For Hank Brown's sake, let's be honest. But I hope that a lot of you are right about this. I will predict about 205 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns. I think that if he does that and we do something else, which we're going to get to in a second, we'll be just fine. I'm hoping for a game where we're not just over the moon about Hank Brown. I shouldn't say that. I just want him to do his job. And that's all, just go out there and handle your business. I think that's all we can really ask for. All right, your next question. This is all I want you to answer. How many rushing yards and how many rushing touchdowns for Auburn offense in this game versus Arkansas? How many rushing touchdowns? A lot of people want us to run the ball more. I agree from my traditionalist sense, but we're not the coach. They make the decisions. But what do you think? Jarquez had a great game. So did Damari. You will have to consider that from what we know and have seen thus far from Hank Brown, he does not have the speed element that Peyton Thorne does. And that will eliminate at least that aspect a little bit for Arkansas, unless he just gets going in this game and surprises us. So keep that in mind in your predictions. Let's see here. 202 touchdowns, 185. Ooh, Neil, very, very bullish on the rushing yards. I like what I see there, Neil. I like that one a lot. Neil, if we have that type of day, we'll be just fine. Even with your prediction of the lower passing yards, that's a just fine day right there. 145, 175. There you go. So a couple of others will probably come in, but I will say that we'll probably pass. I'll say 215, which gets in both of my areas above 400. I'll say about 215 and 2 rushing touchdowns for 28 points for Auburn in this game. So, and that's not my score prediction yet, but that's kind of what I'm feeling about these two categories. All right. Big question right here. Big question. I think this is really important for this game. How many sacks will Auburn allow on its quarterback versus Arkansas? How many sacks will Auburn allow on its quarterback, Hank Brown, or whoever comes in there, if there's a sub or whatever, in this game? Now, you may say we whoop up on Arkansas and we bring in the backups or Peyton Thorne, and then, the backups come in, and that's when they happen. We are playing against SEC talent. Keep that in mind. They've been doing okay in this area so far, but I think you can expect a few more. 0 for We Dig It. 3. A lot of you coming in with a couple of predictions here. I think 2 is probably what should be expected. I wouldn't be surprised if it's more than that. But if we start getting beyond 3, I'm going to be very, very concerned in this game, especially for Hank Brown's psyche. I hope we're prepared to protect him, first of all, but to not have him become damaged goods like so many of our other quarterbacks have been at times because of their lack of protection and support at times. So I hope we're all going to be very pleased with low sacks in this game. All right. Offense question number 4. How many turnovers will Auburn's offense have in this game? We have been turnover prone this season. It is not a good ratio. I don't have that ratio in front of me. A lot of those obviously were during Peyton Thorne's last game, but as we've addressed, some of those weren't his fault. Some of them were. So this is not just a Peyton Thorne question. Jarquez has not held on to the ball at times. Damari has dropped it once. We've also had that's on special teams, but I guess I'm asking about the offense mainly. Let's keep the special teams out of it right now. Just the offense. How many turnovers will Auburn's offense have? I do think, based on our trends, we're going to fumble and probably lose one. My question becomes, do we throw a pick in this game? Will Hank's gamerness get a little bit too out there in this game, wanting to kind of prove everybody right, and him take a few risks? I feel like that's a high chance. So I'm going to predict 2. 1 fumble lost and 1 interception in this game. Again, I am not hoping for that anyway, and I lost track of where we were in the countdown here, so I'm sorry. I'm skipping some of you guys on this one. I don't think Hank throws a pick. I hope you're right. I'm tired of picks. But just what I have been told about him from what coaches have said, everybody has access to those same things. He's a risk taker. I've seen him throw it into some very questionable situations, and he's been lucky a couple of times. I think he will have a propensity to do that against better talent. So I believe we will see at least 1 pick. I hope that's it, though. I think we'll keep it under control. We need to, for the most part. Next question for offense. Who will be Auburn's top rusher in this game? Again, I know I ask this every week, and it seems like it's going to be easier and even easier now, given the fact that we have removed Peyton as the starting quarterback. That was really your best option, I think, at that. But does anybody think Damari has the best game, or is it just flat out Jarquez? Now, think about it this way. If we put a package out there for Malcolm Simmons and what we did with him around that end, he could be your leading rusher just because if he busts ones loose for 80 yards, he could be your leading rusher in this game. I don't know if you'd count that, though, just for one total thing. As expected, Hunter Jarquez. I'm not shocked that you guys would pick that. I mean, I'm going to say it's Jarquez, too. I know a lot of people are happy about the switch at quarterback, but for this question, it obviously hurts us a little bit. Who is going to be Auburn's top receiver in this game? This is your next question. A little bit more of a challenge. Keep in mind, we talked about the stat in the middle of the preview portion that Auburn has gotten touchdowns to 10 different players. So your top receiver could be a running back. Your top receiver could be a tight end, a wide receiver. But who do you think will be Auburn's top receiver in this game? It threw me off for a second when Corey said Brown. It's like throwing to himself. What can Brown do for you? That connection. It was nice to see Camden Brown back out there, wasn't it? I don't think, and I know some of you want to say Cam Coleman, I don't think you should expect to see him out there at all. But if anything, very limited. I can definitely tell my stopped upness is starting to get here now. All right, a couple of different predictions. We got Simmons, of course, Lambert Smith coming in, another Camden Brown, Lambert Smith, Perry Thompson. I think Lambert Smith is going to be your most popular option here, like Jarquez would be. And given one of the stats we talked about, that would make sense. I think he's probably the one you go to, but is that the one that Arkansas is going to double team at times or put extra attention on? So might you have opportunities for someone else like a Perry Thompson, who's going to be seeing more playing time with Cam Coleman out? I don't know. I would love it if Camden Brown would be the top receiver, because I'd love to see that kind of redemptive arc continue for him. So I'm going to say Rivaldo Fairweather. I don't know that he'll lead in receiving yardage, but I'm going to say those two touchdowns that I predicted are going to come from Rivaldo Fairweather. I think he is ready for his truly big breakout game here in this one. We'll see if we're right, though. One more in offense before we move to defense predictions. What will be Auburn's third down percentage in this game? Third down percentage in this game. So how likely are they to convert on third down versus Arkansas? This was a request to put in here by one of our Conquer Club members. We had some good discussions around it last game. I think you should probably feel better about this percentage after last week. Again, it's a much easier defense, but they at least showed you that they can, right? Okay, a couple of percentages coming in. 64, 42, 62, 60, 80. Very high, very high. I think if Auburn has 80, completes 80% of its third downs, they will win the game. But it looks like a lot of you are going to be on the less likely side for that, which I would understand when you're playing against a much better opponent. There's a high 70. We got a couple in the 60s. I think 60 gets you there. I could see the scoring being very low in the first quarter while both teams kind of jockey around what they're going to do. And then hopefully Auburn's going to ride some of that momentum they have at home. I will say 67, 8%, 68%, if that can even happen. I don't know how many third downs you'd have to mathematically get 68% on that one. Of course, you may want not a many third downs, but they will come. They will come. All right, defense. We're now moving on to defense. That's our longest one is the offense. So we're almost halfway done with our predictions before we get to score predictions. How many passing yards and touchdowns will Auburn's defense allow to Arkansas in this game? Only passing yards Only passing touchdowns. That's all we want right now. What do you think? Auburn allowing passing and touchdowns and yards. Keep in mind, it doesn't seem to be their strongest suit. I have heard from several Arkansas fans on different streams we've done this week about their concern about their passing game. So it doesn't sound like it's something to be overly worried about, but we do not need to let it become a problem in this game. So what all do you say for predictions? 220, 3 touchdowns, just Corey said, I guess. 45, 200, 2 touchdowns, 180. I like this prediction from BVK because I could see them somehow getting 2 passing touchdowns because they drove the field rushing mainly and then just did a little flip out there, even to a running back. So I think I will definitely think along the lines of a lot of you and say 2 passing touchdowns in this game. And but I guess my gut is leaning more so on the side of either under or very close to 200 passing yards. I'm just going to say I'm going to say 175. I'll go a little bit out there. Maybe I'm concerned doing that, but 175 passing yards throughout the course of the game, 2 passing touchdowns for them. I think that kind of gets you into the worry column against the defensive backs if we're allowing that much, but they're going to get some yards rushing. It's just going to happen. There's another one as well. Excuse me. I know I coughed right into the microphone there. All right, defense. How many rushing yards and rushing touchdowns will Auburn's defense allow to Arkansas in this game? This is what they're known for. Jackson and quarterback Taylon Green. Green, Jackson, Jackson, Green. This is where they make their bread and butter. What do you think? How many are they going to score? And how many rushing touchdowns and how many rushing yards? This is where it's going to get dicey, folks. And this is where we're going to have to really keep things in check. 313 doesn't seem very, if you're predicting that many rushing touchdowns, we in trouble. I think for Auburn to guarantee its success, it has to keep them under 2 rushing touchdowns in this game. Or excuse me, 2 or less. A couple more predictions here. Some people are very optimistic about that. Look at that. 1 touchdown to 135. There you go. All right. I'm going to say they get I'm going to say they get 280 rushing yards. I know I said 2 rushing touchdowns is the mark you don't want to go past. So I'm going to say 2 rushing touchdowns. 1 from Taylon Green, 1 from the running back. But I think it's going to be one of those situations where it looked like they're going to be more, but then they end up passing it to throw us off because we're going to be keying in on guarding that goal line up there, like 1st and goal, 2nd and goal, and they'll just flip something over to a tight end or something like that. So I think that's what will limit some of those touchdowns because they were actually passes in this game. All right. Still on defense. Next question. Who will be Auburn's top tackler versus Arkansas? Who will be Auburn's top tackler? It feels like this changes every week. Think about it in this way. When we play passing teams, you really don't want to see your defensive backs being the leading tacklers or high up there, but we saw that last week. That means they're getting into the secondary a little bit. I think with a run-heavy offense, you're going to see some of our linebackers, our front 7, front 8, whatever you want to call them, front 7, having the best chance at this. Falk, Eugene, Falk, Eugene. So 2 so far, people predicting. Blockton. He says Brockton, but I think that meant Blockton. Another Falk, another Asante. So we got 2 leaders right now that are out there, but we got 1 for Blockton as well. Keys, Austin Keys is someone that I've been really kind of calling out and saying I really want him to be the guy that leads us at some point. Excuse me. Dorian Mousey. I can never pronounce it. They even give us a sheet of how to pronounce it in the practice, but when it comes time to say it, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's going to be him in this game. Dorian Mousey. That's it. Mousey. I'm going to say he is going to be the leading tackler. It's going to be one of our linebackers, I think. All right. This is one of those weird questions. Answer it however you want it, how you want it to. Okay. But you can try to keep it in this order in your answers. How many sacks, how many fumbles, and how many interceptions will Auburn's defense have in this game? I know this is a lot to think about in one. We used to spread this out. It just kind of made things drag around for us during the show. So we've combined it. These are some of those crucial things that make the biggest difference for a defense. How many sacks, fumbles, and interceptions? And we're talking about recovered fumbles, not just you caused a fumble. What do you think? I do think that we are going to have to get some sacks to really make Taylon Green question whether he needs to throw the ball. It'd be nice if we get a fumble. As much as I'd like to think we get an interception here, I don't think we're going to get many opportunities to do that. And thus, I think that limits those chances, obviously. So a couple of you are starting to bring in these here. Hopefully, we'll get a few good hits. 4 sacks. Nice. I think we will get 3 sacks, 1 fumble recovery, and 0 interceptions in this game. It'd be nice to get an interception here. I'm just thinking about what we're, what the opportunities that are going to present itself. We're going to have more opportunities to strip that ball from a running back, or Taylon Green when he gets tackled. We need to hit this. We need to make sure Taylon Green feels the pressure, not just of our defense, but of the home field advantage. All right. There's that. One more thing. And this is kind of related to this last question. And you can either how many defensive touchdowns will Auburn have in this game? It can be 0. It can be 1. Do they recover a fumble, run it back? Do they run an interception back? I've already kind of opened up and said I don't think we're going to get an interception back. But how many defensive touchdowns will Auburn have in this game? Probably going to be on the lower side. If you think we're going to get more than say 1, then I think we're going to have a win in this game. I think definitely not going to have an interception for returning back for a touchdown, but I could see us recover a fumble when we've got them pinned back and they're trying to run the ball, from like the 10-yard line and picking it up and running it in there. But so many people here are predicting 0. We got a 1, 0, 1. There you go. I'm going to predict 1 defensive touchdown, which might be the difference in the game. I think they're going to come out passing, trying to, but I hope that's not successful for them. All right, we got special teams, and then we're going to move on to our final score prediction. So hold your horses. We're almost done. Special teams, how many punts will Auburn have in this game? This is crucial in the field position battle. This is crucial in how many times that you haven't scored. How many times will Auburn punt in this game? Saw that stat we talked about a little bit earlier. One of the best in the nation in punters, but also the coverage team allowing negative return yards thus far. Negative thus far. 3, 2, 4, 2. Any more than 3 punts, especially early on, I think we're going to be in a world of trouble. I'm going to say we have to punt 3 times. Now, if it's like a 4th punt at the end of the game, I'm fine with that. I guess that technically counts, but I'm going to predict and hope we have no more than 3 punts, and like 2 of those come in the first quarter, where everybody's just kind of like trying to jockey for position and feel things out. Okay. Excuse me. Next question. How many field goal attempts and makes will Towns Magoo, I'm assuming it's going to be Towns, have in this game? He has missed one, which was a ridiculous attempt. I was like from like 60. So you can understand him missing that. But how many attempts and makes on field goals will Auburn have in this game? I think we're going to have him make a couple for us. Okay, looks like we're just getting the makes here from a lot of people. 4. Wow. 1 for 1. You know, I was thinking when I was asking this question, 1 for 2. I'm going to say 2 for 3. 2 for 3. 2 for 3. I think that's going to be very, very important. This is just a yes or no question, very quickly. Any punt returns or kick returns for touchdowns in this game? Remember the stat we talked about? Some of the best kick returners in the nation thus far, at least yardage-wise, Auburn is. So if you put Jeremiah Cobb back there, you might continue to do that, and he gets the ball. You might have something. Anybody feeling good about that? Yes or no? Kick returns, punt returns? What do you think? For a touchdown? Anybody feeling confident in that? As much as I love Jeremiah back there and what he can do when he has the ball in his hands, I just don't get the sense that we're going to do that. I wonder if we're also going to have a change in punt returner this week, in A. 2 for 2. Is that an answer to the last question? You might be behind, Stan. 0. Okay. Nobody answered yes or no, like I asked. Or are these all responses to the last question? I can't tell. I don't think they are. No, they're definitely not. Anyway, all right. It doesn't look like there's a lot of excitement or thoughts on that. Simmons is a better returner. He might be. All right. Special teams. Last question. This is another request we added this year from our Conquer Club people. Number of penalties and yards for Auburn in this game. Number of penalties and yards for Auburn in this game. To which you all will say, if we have the same reffing crew, then yeah, we're going to have a lot. How many penalties and for how many yards will Auburn have in this game? So start to think about what penalties they might have. Hank was very specific about him concentrating this week on play clock. So I'm going to trust that we're not going to have a delay of game issue, at least based on him this week. I could see a legal formation happening just because he's still, not getting people set in the right thing. That could happen. I could certainly see a pass interference happening. So you're probably looking at least 30 and 2 penalties right there. Probably going to be a holding too, and at least a false start or an offsides. So I think you're probably looking in the range of about 6 penalties for about 70 yards. I think we will have somewhere in the range of that. So here's them from everybody else. There you go. All right, folks. Corey said 10 for 112. Jeez. Jeez. All right, folks. We have previewed everything. We have talked about depth charts. We've talked about injury reports. We've talked about other speculation. We've talked about offensive predictions. We've talked about defensive predictions, special teams predictions. We have reached that point in the show. Right now, lock in your score predictions for Auburn and Arkansas. What say you? Keep in mind the things that we've talked about during the show. Keep in mind the spread if that's important to you. 2.5 in Auburn's favor at home. What is the score prediction for the Razorbacks? Wee Pig Suey and Auburn. And obviously tell me who wins. I'm going to assume if most of y'all write a score, it's going to be in Auburn's favor. This is an Auburn channel after all. And we're not playing like a Georgia or something like that. So I'm going to assume it's an Auburn's favor, but you may want to clarify that. 28-17, 45-38, 20-17. That's an interesting one. 32-24, 31-27. There's a clarification there. A couple more coming in. So it looks like everybody except WT has, well, no, Corey as well had us in the 20s, but that's the high 20s. WT is thinking this is going to be a low scoring affair. Low scoring affair. I like that some of you want us to hit that 40 mark so we can continue to keep that 40 points per game thing alive. I don't think that's going to happen in this game. I would love for it to. I will do my prediction as such. I will do, I think I said 2 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns, and I think I predicted 1 defensive touchdown. So what I'm actually going to trade one of those out for a passing touchdown. So I do think Auburn's going to hit 28, and I will keep those 2 field goals. This is why we talk through all the different angles, because you say one thing and you start thinking about it, and you're like, maybe not. And then I'm going to take those 2 field goals, 2 for 3 I predicted. So I will say that Auburn scores 34 points in this game. Arkansas scores 31. A field goal wins it, maybe even a Towns-Magoo game winner. How awesome would that be for a hometown kid? Maybe even after he missed one in this game. Andrew thinks 17-16. What a score. There you go. So we'll see if anybody's score predictions come to fruition. It's a good score, though. It's got a lot of memories behind it. So that's my official 34-31. Auburn wins at home versus Arkansas in a nail biter and keeps themselves, for now, out of the cellar of the SEC, putting Arkansas officially down there a little bit. Because if you look at the way the rankings are right now, that does push Auburn up into the middle pack and I think that'll start to kind of work itself out a little better with all the SEC games this weekend. All right. We got a few minutes left, so I can do a little bit of Q&A at this time. If you guys have any comments, questions, topics about the game specifically and about Auburn football that you'd like for me to address here, go ahead and do that. I don't have any cue cards ready for you. Like I said, I've been a little bit under the weather today, so forgive me for the lack of preparation today. But I'll do it from memory. Next scheduled live streams for you are going to be Tiger Walk. We'll do that live on Saturday. Don't miss it. We'll be putting those up probably tomorrow sometime, so you can find it, hit the like button, hit the notify me bell, and that should help you know when it's live. We will also do a post-game show. It'll be as quickly as I can get to. If it's a win, it'll probably take a while because we'll go to Toomer's Corner, do our normal things there, and then come back to set up. So I would say you could probably see it somewhere between 7:30 and 8. If we lose, it'll probably be a little bit quicker than that after I have my therapy Taco Bell. All that to be said, I hope we have a win. After that, we will be doing, and I've announced this on TikTok today, but I'll say this officially to you guys. We are going to be attempting a live show for the Auburn Experience podcast, the flagship show, on Sunday at a different time at 2 p.m. Central Time from campus. Now, it won't be like in front of the stadium or anything like that, but it'll be on campus. This is a test run of sorts. So I hope you guys can join us live for that. I do believe there is some other prominent Auburn content creators that go during that. I forget which ones. So I apologize if that conflicts with your viewing things. But I hope that you'll take what we do, this unique thing, in live for this weekend. I will be in Auburn as it stands right now for the next week and a half. Got some other things planned that we're going to try to go do and experience and things like that. So you just never know. So stay tuned, stay connected, subscribe, all that good stuff. And even when it's just a regular on campus week, and there's a lot of stuff to come out on social media, but especially for you Conquer Club people at the Eagle tier. Okay. I think that's our announcements, and we'll see what you guys are saying for the last part of our show. Andrew says, might have already been said. Do we know if Cam Coleman is healthy? I will bring it back up one more time. I'm still shocked, and maybe you've seen this, that this is still a question, because this has been out there a lot. And I feel like everybody's on a social media or message board. See, there's your SEC official list as of yesterday. Based on that list where he finds himself, Cam Coleman, and what coaches said, the way he said it, I say no. I would not expect him to play at all, but at the very minimum, much, if I'm being honest about it. But there's your information for you. Why is so many people like obsessed with Barstool coming to town? Is it that big of a thing? Like, is it really that big? I know who Barstool is and like that, but I've gotten this question so much. No, I will not be going out there. Not just because I'm not really a fan of what they do. No offense to them. It's just not my thing. But also, it's way far out there. If they were going to do this, they should have found a way to do it basically on campus. I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. You didn't know there are other Auburn content creators. Oh, there are. Here's the funny thing about that. When I started I've been doing podcasting, and what people consider podcasting, for over a decade now for Auburn stuff. I told somebody all the story about that, and I was one of the few doing it back then. But I've also I was one of the first, like, I don't want to say like prominent, but like at least people recognize the name on YouTube in the Auburn space and utilizing it regularly. And it was like the minute I started utilizing it, all the big players came over there. Like, I mean, came over to YouTube. It's just like, it went from, we had audiences that were pushing 1,000 sometime, because that was the only Auburn content on a regular basis on YouTube outside of the official Auburn accounts. And now everybody's come over here. And so it just eats up stuff. So they're there. They are definitely there. It is a big competition now. 12:30 Tiger Walk is correct. That is correct. So broadcasting then, they've been pretty much on time. Usually but that means they get off the bus at 12:30. So by the time they walk down to me, it's like 12:33, something like that. I usually, as soon as I see Aubie in view of my camera lens, I turn it on. Yeah, Devin, I have never not known you to take in as much of the Auburn experience as you can. I'm not shocked by that in the least. All right, a couple more minutes here. Final questions, comments, derogatory rebuttals that are productive. Anything else about this game, about football that we haven't talked about? This is your last chance to get it in, because Mr. Kyle will be busy starting tomorrow, as long as he's still feeling better. I will hopefully be feeling a lot better when I wake up in the morning, because this morning I was like, oh no, this has got to go away. Got to go away, because I got to have my energy. It's going to be warmer. So we went from having this weekend where temperature was great, rain was awful, and then if you looked at the forecast for this week, last week, it was going to be like 85, low of 60 in the morning. So it's going to get pretty warm. It is now switched to 90s, like low 90s, but 90s, which means it's going to feel like the 95 or something like that. So it's going to be a warm one again, folks. So saddle up for that. I think it's hilarious that neither team's fans think their team is going to win. The attitude on Twitter is not great for either team. Well, when have you known anything on Twitter to be great? NyQuil? I try not to. I'm not a big fan of using like drugs unless I have to. So I'm not feeling like horrible, but it's just one of those things that, you can tell it in my voice, I think, a little bit, but you're not 100%. So hopefully some sleep tonight will kick whatever I've got in the butt. All right, folks. I think that's going to be it. Thank you so much for being here, hanging out with us, being part of our little family within the Auburn family. I'm excited for another fun 4 in a row game weekends in Auburn, and for a week and a half, hopefully, if it all works out, straight in Auburn. Stay tuned, stay connected, and I hope to see you guys a lot from Auburn over the next week and a half. Thank you so much for being here, and until I talk to you again, War Eagle.